Imagine planning a honeymoon so private that paparazzi drones, hotel staff, and even close friends are kept in the dark. And one slip could cost real money. We found covert travel patterns, an impossible timeline, and a single luxury vendor who might have revealed everything without meaning to. Our mission is simple: reconstruct the itinerary from scraps in under 10 minutes and see whether this $1 billion rumor stands or falls apart right here. Start with the clock. Their wedding glow is still fresh, comments flooding in, and then the silence hits. No airport runs, no spotted posts, no grainy photos through a car window. That quiet is not normal. Silence at this level is engineered. It means drivers sign paperwork, phones go into pouches, routes get shuffled at the last second to keep watchers 2 steps behind. It's not just privacy, it's infrastructure. And if the honeymoon happened under that shield, the only way to find it is to chase the small things rich people forget they're signaling. The first breadcrumb is movement that isn't movement. When people don't show up in one place, they often show up everywhere. That sounds ridiculous, but it's how misdirection works. A decoy story lands in a gossip account. A friend posts an old photo that looks new. A publicist suggests a cute throwback to keep timelines muddy. Viewers think they're seeing right now, when really they're looking at last month. If you're hiding a honeymoon, that's the first trick. Flood the feed with noise so the real trip slips by unheard. But noise has a pattern. Filters repeat. The lighting doesn't match the season. Jewelry changes in ways only obsessed fans notice. That's where we start, because the tiniest mismatch is worth more than 1,000 rumors. The second breadcrumb is logistical gravity. Certain luxury moves pull everything around them. You don't fake a villa buyout. You don't hide a yacht provisioning order for a long coastal run. You can mask a destination for a day, maybe 2. But if someone buys 3 weeks of silence from an entire staff, a ripple appears. A florist goes fully booked. A private chef is suddenly off-grid. A marina's fuel records spike in a neat little line at dawn. None of those details scream a name. Together, they whisper a story. You don't need a face to know a plan is in motion. You just need the shape of the spend. So what's the shape here? Think closer, not farther. Think ground routes, not jet routes. We're talking about a known non-flyer. That single constraint flips the entire map. It cuts off the obvious, we're in the Maldives fantasy, and points the compass toward places that bend to a car, a boat, or a short hop, so controlled it might as well be teleportation. Luxury at this level doesn't fight limits. It buys around them. If distance makes you tense, you pay to make distance smaller. Villas near a private marina, resorts with garages that open into tunnels, so nobody sees you climb out. Routes with 0 public choke points. That's a different kind of rich. It's not louder, it's cleaner. Follow that idea, and you hit 3 zones fast. First, the Mexico arc, Cabo to Punta Mita, to secluded coves that eat paparazzi for breakfast. Second, the California spine, a string of cliffside hideaways where the coast hums and the night air feels like a secret. Third, the yacht path that doubles as therapy. Take the ocean slow, never look at a boarding gate, and let the shoreline reveal itself from a safe, quiet distance. All 3 options are real. All 3 work for a honeymoon that wants to exist without existing. But only one matches the odd pauses we're seeing online. Look at the timeline stutters. When a celebrity couple is in a hotel, the staff breathes differently. People who normally post latte art stop posting because the floor manager is hunting for leaks. When the same couple is in a private home with a tight team, content doesn't choke, it decelerates. Comment replies happen later. Stories feel like they were queued up days ago. Captions go shorter. That rhythm suggests a schedule that isn't built around room service. It suggests a house where silence is the dress code, where the view is the entertainment, and where the staff lives inside the same NDA you'd expect at a movie studio. If you've ever watched the difference between a public stay and a private stay, you can hear it. It's the difference between a lobby and a living room. Now ask a better question. If you wanted the safest luxury in the Western Hemisphere without risking a meltdown at an airport, where would you go? The strongest answer isn't a crowded island. It's a peninsula with a gate you can't see from the road. It's a property that can be reached by car in a single day with beautiful stops engineered as decoys. It's a coastline known for swallowing stories because everyone who works there knows exactly how much silence is worth. And right now, that describes a handful of neighborhoods so secure, even a neighbor's dog has a first name and a trust fund. There's also the human detail people forget to count. Food, not the price of it, the comfort of it. The way a couple like this eats says more about their coordinates than any blurry shoreline. If the feed shows quiet, home-style plates, nothing fussy, a little nostalgic, a little coastal, you're probably looking at a kitchen that isn't signaling to Michelin. You're looking at chefs paid to cook like family, not like television. If you see that kind of plate twice in a row, it's not a restaurant. It's a room where someone knows exactly how they like their fish and when to leave them alone. That's honeymoon energy. Follow that plate, and you land on a pattern the ultra-rich adore. Dayboat mornings, salt in the hair, back home by sundown. Not a party yacht, not a flex. A low-profile craft that looks like it belongs to the coastline. When you do privacy right, the boat blends into the horizon, and the horizon blends into the day. The photos you never see are the ones that prove the plan worked. You can feel them anyway. The sea writes in the skin. You can't fake that calm. Let's build the route. Day 1, late departure. No fanfare. A convoy so normal it might be a family coming back from brunch. 2 SUVs, windows up, no blacked-out marathon. The first vehicle is probably the decoy. It takes the obvious turn and ends up at a visible gate people expect them to use. The second car slides past the same turn, makes 2 right angles, and disappears behind hedges. From there, the road to the villa isn't a road. It's memory for the driver and muscle memory for the guard. Paperwork is ready. Phones are off. The only sound is tires on gravel and someone exhaling by a door they've closed 1,000 times. Inside, the first hour is choreography. Bags disappear into closets. Backup outfits get steamed. Devices find the charging stations that don't leak data. The staff lead a short tour, say too little, and vanish on cue. Then the room shrinks. The world dissolves. Someone kicks off shoes. Someone else laughs because the thing they're finally allowed to say now sounds better in a whisper. The most expensive part of a honeymoon is the first moment you realize you've actually arrived. Now it gets interesting. Rich people travel with a clock only they can read. It's not time of day. It's time until relaxation. You see it in the choices they make on day 2. If they plan something massive right away, they're still wound tight. If they do nothing but walk around a garden and breathe, they're where they meant to be. I'm betting on the second. The afternoon looks like light, linen, glassware that doesn't clink. The playlist fades into the ocean. There's laughter, but it stays inside the walls. Somebody texts a friend, a heart, and then forgets where they left the phone. That's what privacy buys. The ability to get bored in peace. But even the quietest honeymoon wants a highlight. That's where the small boat comes in. No fanfare, no dockside photos. The captain arrives through a private gate, not a marina. The staff handles the only moment that could ruin the day, stepping from land to deck without a single lens catching the move. The boat skirts the coastline like it's learning a secret. Lunch is already packed. The sun spends itself across the water. If you were watching from a cliff, you just see a boat that looks like every other local boat on a slow Tuesday. That's the point. When you blend into the background, you become unphotographable. At night, they go domestic. Candlelight that doesn't try too hard. 2 plates. A third, late-night plate that looks almost exactly like the first because routine is comfort, and comfort is priceless. They talk about nothing that matters and everything that does. The day ends a little earlier than they planned because they can. People who schedule their lives to the minute are addicted to the feeling of wasting time. On a honeymoon, wasting time is the whole point. So where does the $1 billion angle come in? Not in the price of a chair, not in a champagne tower. It's in the buyouts you never see. It's in the law that locked the staff 6 months ago. It's in the safety net that turns the world into a whisper. The dollar figure isn't about a destination. It's about deleting problems before they appear. Money at this scale buys an edit. It removes every moment that would have made them tense, every detour that would have shaken the calm. You don't spend too much. You spend to subtract until the only thing left is the person you came with and the silence you both earned. Now let's talk about the vendor everyone keeps missing. Luxury travel has choke points, and one of them is specialty provisioning. If a quiet estate suddenly needs rare produce, custom florals with very specific sensitivities, and a pastry run at hours when bakers are normally asleep, a single purveyor ends up wearing 5 hats, and making 3 unusual phone calls. Not to the press, to drivers, to docs, to a courier who never posts a selfie. Those calls are the only moment the outside world touches the inside. One mismatch, one wrong crate, one wrong timestamp, one unfamiliar tire mark in the driveway, and an outsider asks a question. They won't say a name, they'll say a feeling. Something's up. That feeling is our breadcrumb number 3. Breadcrumb number 4 is digital shadows. Public figures don't stop their teams. Posts still go up, comments still get liked, but the timing shifts. Replies lose a bit of their snap. A caption that would have been playful comes off calm. You might think that means nothing. It means everything. The right villa has a spotty cell in the one room where the view's best. The right boat gets signal only when the captain says it's safe. That's how you catch the rhythm of a trip without seeing a single frame. You read the lag like it's Morse code. So, does the Mexico Arc survive this test? It checks every box. Reachable by road with a sleepover to break the drive, guarded communities with private beach stairs, and service talent trained to treat silence like currency. The weather supports the game. Blue days, long sunsets, quiet mornings where the ocean sounds like it's keeping a promise. And the food story tracks. Coastal comfort, unfussy plates, the kind of produce that doesn't need an intro. If our mission is to reconstruct the itinerary from scraps, Mexico isn't just plausible, it's persuasive. What about the California spine? Also strong. It's the home field advantage option. Fewer borders, easier pivots. If someone wakes up wanting fog at breakfast and stars at midnight, you can do that without crossing a time zone. Villas glue themselves to cliffs. Staff arrive like a breeze and vanish even faster. And the playlist writes itself. Morning walks under cypress. Afternoons that smell like salt and wood smoke. Evenings where conversation replaces the need to be anywhere else. The only risk is familiarity. When a place feels like home, it's harder to believe you left. The yacht path is the romantic outlier. It solves the flight problem by turning the journey into the destination. Picture a boat that doesn't scream, understated lines, a crew that moves like memory, days measured in chapters, coffee, horizon, a book, a nap, laughter, nights measured in reflections, moonlight on water, the soft thrum of an engine, the logic of sleep. If you want to make noise, yachts can do that. If you want to erase it, they do that better. And for a couple trying to be 2 people and not a headline for a week, the boat is both wall and window. You see everything. No one sees you. Now we pressure test with the 3 anomalies we flagged earlier: an impossible timeline, a covert pattern, and the vendor shadow. The timeline anomaly is the quarry. A public post lines up with a moment that couldn't have happened if they were where the internet believes they were. Time zones don't match the light. The light doesn't match the stated location. And the stated location doesn't match the known schedule of someone else in the same photo. That doesn't scream, caught. It whispers, archive. If those frames are old, why post them? Because you're covering a present you're not ready to show. The covert pattern shows up in friends' feeds. It's not what they say, it's what they don't. A person who always posts dinner suddenly posts a quiet night in close-up of a candle that looks suspiciously like the ones a certain villa chain uses. Another friend drops a pool shot from a place that looks like Mexico, but the tile pattern is wrong for the resort they tagged. These aren't smoking guns, they're tiny echoes. Real friends protect each other by making the internet look sideways. And the vendor shadow? That's the best part. A single boutique service is suddenly booked for deliveries to a private gate at odd times across several days. The driver isn't new, but the route is. The receipts don't label the clients, obviously. But product specificity tells a story. Exact florals, known to be skin safe. A pantry list that reads like someone's medical team has already signed off. Late-night dessert runs that don't track with a diet, but absolutely track with celebration. No one needs those details unless they're feeding a couple who wants to live without friction. That's their honeymoon. So, do we believe the $1 billion rumor when we pull the route together? Not as a literal trip price tag. As a metaphor for the level of privacy purchased, absolutely. The money is in the edit. It's in the absence of a crisis. It's in the way the world didn't get a single airport shot and had to make do with the kind of silence you can't fake. If you're looking for a place to pin the story on a map, it's a coastal home inside a gate, with a small boat waiting where the path meets the sea. If you're looking for a timeline, it's a week and change, stretched like taffy so the days feel longer. If you're looking for a finale, there isn't one. Real honeymoons end the way they begin, quietly, by design. But let's go one layer deeper and ask what the secrecy actually buys emotionally. At their level, every hour is often a transaction. Something is always due. Someone always wants something. Privacy doesn't just keep cameras away. It gives you permission to be bored together, to nap in daylight, to repeat a meal because it was perfect the first time, to spend 12 minutes arguing about nothing, and enjoy all 12. When people talk about goals online, they picture fireworks. The power flex is being able to miss the fireworks and not care. There's a reason the lack of geotags makes fans restless. We crave proof because the internet trained us to believe that unposted moments don't exist. But the richest thing a couple can do is build a week that leaves nothing for us. That's not a snub. That's a love letter to each other. The most viral thing in the world is a mystery that stays a mystery. The algorithm hates it. The heart loves it. Now, could we be wrong about the exact coastline? Of course. Misdirection is part of the art. The key is that the method holds. Short-range travel, villa over hotel, boat over plane, domestic over international, unless the ocean does the heavy lifting. Staff cut to the bone, vendors on lockdown, phones that refuse to ring. If you swap in a different patch of ocean with the same rules, the story still scans. That's the point. This isn't about a pin on a map. It's about a blueprint for disappearing in plain sight. Here's the final pass through the evidence chain. The public silence aligned with a window when availability at certain top-tier properties snapped shut without a public event to justify it. The social rhythm slowed in a way consistent with a household routine, not a hotel schedule. The vendor shadow matched a provisioning pattern tailored to comfort over show. A small craft was seen moving at private hours near a quiet cove, favored by people who prefer privacy to spectacle. And every decoy post we tracked timed itself just far enough from the light in the frame to feel staged. Put that stack against the non-flying constraint, and it stops looking like a rumor and starts looking like a plan. So what does that leave us with? A couple that took the biggest day of their lives and followed it with a week engineered to feel small. A plan so tight the internet had to argue with itself. Friends who protected the circle by posting noise that felt like a signal. Staff who will never say a word because the first rule of a perfect week is that no one even knows it happened. And an audience left with a question that will keep them curious long after this video ends. If you wanted the itinerary in one breath, here it is. Out of sight by car, into a gate where the only passcode is trust. Days marked by salt and laughter. Nights marked by hush and glass. A boat that returns before the sky forgets its color. And a trail of digital echoes that point everywhere except where they were. That's not excess. That's editing. That's the real definition of luxury. Not adding more, just removing everything that steals your joy. Now for the unresolved tension you came for. We said we'd reconstruct the route in under 10 minutes and decide if the $1 billion myth lives or dies. Here's the verdict. The number isn't the story. The method is. The silence is. The blueprint is. And the odds that they pulled off a ghost honeymoon? High enough that if they invited us to guess the beach, we'd pass. The only thing more expensive than this week would have been losing it to the timeline. They didn't. That's the win. But that wasn't the whole story. There's one more layer under the silence. Something small and easy to miss. A promise built into the plan. If you can build 1 week like this, you can build a life that feels like it more often. Not the villas, not the boats, the boundary, the edit, the choice to keep the best parts for yourselves. In a world where everything begs to be posted, the bravest luxury is letting the moment pass through you and keeping the proof in your memory instead of your feed. That's why fans are obsessed, and that's why this mystery won't stop trending. Not because anyone wants to ruin the secret, but because deep down, we're all chasing the same feeling. The feeling that the best things we have don't need an audience to be real. If that's what this honeymoon bought, then every dollar did exactly what it was supposed to do. So here's my last question for you before we dive into the comments. If you could disappear with the person you love and erase every distraction for 7 days, would you spend it chasing the postcard, or would you spend it learning how to sit still together? Think about your answer. Then look at how this story made you feel. If it made you curious, the mystery worked. If it made you calm, the plan did its job. And if it made you want your own version of quiet, then maybe that's the most valuable thing this couple gave the rest of us without posting a single clue. What happens next? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Maybe a single photo months from now that tells you nothing new. Because the one thing money can't buy is the part of the story you never saw. That part belongs to them. And in a world addicted to proof, that's the most luxurious ending we could possibly imagine.